All right, mates, welcome back to the channel. JL Scott Fishing and Eats. Hope everybody is doing well. It is Hump Day Wednesday, a little midweek update. Upper Potomac, I'll tell you what, today is just a 10-degree spread from the high and the low. It's kind of crazy. 10 to 12-degree spread. So it's going to be interesting to see. They kind of, the smallies kind of shut down for a few days because we had some massive, cold front move in that just, it basically took the temperatures down from like this low 70s to like the upper 30s in the morning. Kind of crazy. But, we're going to head back out this morning to the lock, going to check everything out, going to see what the water levels are like, the water temperature, the river composition. The crayfish, a lot of the forage species are doing their thing and making their way towards their pattern, which is more almost an early winter pattern during that cold front. We're going to take a look at it. Got some new baits going to try out today, really. Have not thrown on the Upper Potomac before. So we're going to test that out. I got a new rod to test out. And I'm also testing out some new line. So got a lot of stuff coming on with the channel. A lot of people sending some product reviews for the channel, which is awesome. I think we broke 22,000 subscribers on YouTube. So that's awesome, heading into what most people consider to be like the off-season downtime, unless you're a hunter. A lot of people aren't fishing right now. So wrapped up KBF National Championship. Kudos to all those guys. Big shout out to those from Maryland and Virginia in our region that participated in that event. Tough bite for sure, for some, for a lot more people tough bite than the top, obviously. That's how it goes. MLF just freaking did what many people thought they would never do. Reversing course. We've seen this 2 reverses this week. It's just kind of awesome. I mean, if you think about it, because sometimes we do things emotionally, and knee-jerk emotion, right? And I don't mind things taking a little bit of time to play out, like we saw with Bassmaster, and the disqualification of Drew Gregory. I know a lot of people. I knew when it was going to go more than a week or so that Drew was going to be found to be in the right. I thought he was in the right the whole time. You can watch my videos. I break it down, the rules, just based on how I would consider it. And I talked to like 36 people, both in the boater community and people that just fish, right? These are people that weren't competitors at Lake Pickwick, okay? They don't have a vested interest, okay? They were just observing. How does this read to you? And how would it apply on your last tournament? On, say, Conowingo, on, say, Susquehanna, on, say, Upper Potomac, at the tidal Potomac, or Upper Chesapeake Bay. How would you read this rule if you were taking your boat out or if you were taking your kayak out, right? And 99% of the people all said the same thing, that Drew Gregory was in the right. The only people that seemed to say that he wasn't seemed to be people with an interest. Like either they competed in the event or they got some axe to grind. And that's common in the kayak fishing community. This just is. Anytime you question anything, anytime you want to raise awareness, or you just are like have a query about why did this happen, it's all childish, amateurish antics. It's all like whataboutisms and personal attacks. I get it all the time. I think it's hilarious. They're never going to get to me, okay? It's because I just don't care. Like, it's like, because I'm 52 years old. I'm not a 20, 30 woke somebody woke with just wokeness and these insensitivities. I've said it before on my channel. I'm the youngest of 8, mates. Like, I come from a huge family. We're like Scottish. We argue about everything, okay? And so that's just the way it is. So, with me, if you come with facts, if you come with answers to questions, we're all good. Like, you can prove me wrong, and I'll say I'm wrong. I did not believe I was wrong about my original video about Drew Gregory, okay? I did not believe that I was wrong about recommending that MLF go back to the best 5 format, which they're now doing, except for heavy hitters and I think the General Tire Series. They're going to go back to best 5, okay, days 1 and day 2. They're still going to keep the format where, you fish day 1 and day 3, and the other group B fishes day 2 and day 4. Wipe it. Then you come back. No automatic qualifying for the knockout round or the championship round anymore. You're going to fish the knockout and carry your weight to the championship day. I said this 6 months ago, mates, that I thought MLF would probably have to go to that because the anglers, you want to keep your people happy. And there just seemed to be a lot of tension there. And so now they're going back. They did it for a number of years, and now they're going back. There's nothing wrong with reversing course when things aren't working. KBF, reversing course a little bit, getting back to the community side of things, right? Getting back to growing the lower level. It is a grassroots organization. People need to stop comparing KBF to Bassmaster and Hobie. They're not even remotely, they're a totally different organization with totally different goals. Yes, they have a top series. And that takes the brunt of everything. The most pundits, most people on YouTube, most people on Facebook with a large community that has a voice in the kayak fishing community focuses on the top pro level events, okay, national events, because they have the highest payouts, okay? And there are people who want to become professional anglers in a kayak, and in the same way that they look at the boater community and they see that what professional anglers are doing in the boater community. Okay, I don't care what anybody says. It's always going to get compared to the boater community. Okay, it just is. And I know a lot of people want kayaking to be myopic in its own thing, do its own thing, chart its own course. But all of the entities that are providing the funding and the sponsoring are already in the boater community. So until you find major kayak manufacturers and kayak companies only, till there gets to be enough of them to sustain, a kayak fishing community professional level event without needing, the crossover or, stuff from the boater world. I don't see how that's going to happen. I just don't think that's realistic. You have to kind of toe the line to understand who's funding these things. It's not just the angler entry fees. And then anglers have to step up. Okay. I mean, I'm going to do a video that kind of breaks this down. It will be very, very controversial. But I do these things to get people to think. And kayakers don't pay that much. Like, let's just be honest. I mean, they call it the poor. Like, if you're in the boater community, if you're talking with boaters, they consider kayakers to be the poor man, the poor man's fishing platform, right? Because if you talk to boaters, they're like, why don't they just buy a boat? If they want to just buy a boat, they can't afford a boat? We're buying a boat. We're paying a monthly payment to buy a boat to fish. We're carrying insurance. We're buying a trailer. Why don't they do it? Like, why? What are they complaining about? Like, And so, I mean, then you got the kayak side, again, against the boater side, and what they do on the water, and they don't share water, and they cut people off, they ignore kayakers and all that back and forth. But here's the reality. Co-anglers pay more than kayakers to fish in events, in bass. So when people complain about payouts, you don't have much skin in the game. $115 if you're KBF, $265, I think this year, Hobie, for a 2-day event. KBF, I think, was $100, and I think $250 was bass. That's less than what a co-angler pays to spend all day on the back of the boat, okay, in an event. And co-anglers are walking away with 10 grand, 20 grand, okay? Like, again, you got to have skin in the game, mates. I know this is a rant, but it's like, at some point, hey, Bass, make it $400. Hey, Hobie, make it $400. I mean, I think KBF is going to make it $400 if you include your 2 days on the trail and then 2 days pro series. I think the combination of that, if you fish both circuits on any event next year, you're going to be paying like $400. Kudos to KBF. Like, a lot of, and I'm sure they'll take heat from the haters. Like, oh, $400. Yeah, step the hell up. Like, don't bitch about payouts, okay, when you're only paying $265 or $115 to fish in a major event. Like, okay, less than co-anglers and certainly less than boaters. Okay, and then people will say like, oh, well, Jay, those boater events pay up to $100,000. Yeah, why do they do that? Because anglers are paying $2,500, right? Boaters are paying $2,500 and there's like 200 of them. Okay, do the math, mates. I know math sucks. And I know a lot of people don't want to do math, but come on, like, think it through. 200 anglers on the water in their boats paying anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 or $2,800. Okay, an event. Co-anglers paying $500. That may get an increase from like little under 500, or they could do away with the co-anglers altogether next year and add what the co-anglers would pay to the boater requirement. I'm sure boaters would like that, not to have to deal with co-anglers, right? And bass would still get their money, right? So these are all things that people have to think about, right? That they don't want to think about. And then when you bring it up or you confront them, they come with the childish BS, right? The childish whataboutism and antics about personal attacks on whoever, you know. I mean, I get it. It's freaking a joke. It's like you just make yourself look like a total buffoon and fool in front of all of social media when you don't answer a question, right? And I can speak from my personal experience having a channel. They don't want to come on your channel. They don't want to come on the channel. It's like no Democrats right now before the midterms want to go on Fox. They don't want to answer the hard questions. They don't. So they're not going to come on people's channels and podcasts that aren't going to softball them, that aren't in the tank for them. It's the same thing in the real world. Same thing is happening in the fishing community. You know, if someone's going to ask you very, very hard questions about stuff that you really, really don't want to talk about, that you want to keep under the rug, you are not going to go on their live stream or go on their podcast. You're just not. And there are plenty of podcasts out there that are neutral. And that's a perfect place. But not all, like mine, is neutral. I'm going to challenge you on things that just don't look and smell right. In the same way these same people challenged Bass this week. I don't know what to think about Bass. I know exactly what to think about Bass. Well done. Way to do your due diligence. Way to provide an angler with a process in which he can make his case. So he personally can make his case so the panel can understand what he was thinking and how he perceived the rule to be and why he did what he did. Okay? Not all organizations provide their anglers that. We know that to be true. And when you say that to those people, what's their response? Oh, what about isms? What about you and this guy? What about stolen valor? What about that crap? Yeah, right, bud. Like, seriously, keep coming at me with the whole stolen valor shit so I can actually put you in your freaking place where you belong, okay? And embarrass you in front of the whole entire community. All three of you guys. Okay, they want to just keep that ranting narrative. I'll just keep jingling. Oh, what's that say? Oh, J.L. Scott. Oh my God. Oh, positive. United States Marine Corps. Oh, Protestant. Oh my God. Right? I'll just keep. You know what? I'll just keep that all like right down so I can just wait to embarrass you, because that's childish and amateurish. Okay. It has nothing to do with what the topic at hand or the question at hand is. So that's the reality of what we face when you have a channel, is people are going to not want to answer questions. They're going to disagree with you, which is perfectly fine. This is a freaking republic, for God's sakes. I don't expect people to agree with everything I say. And a lot of times I don't even think everything I say. I do it to get people to critically think, to make changes. And it's funny how a lot of the things we've talked about on our channel, mates, and you guys have commented on or sent a message to me about or whistle blown in some of these organizations about stuff, it's starting to change. See, that's how it works, okay? Bring it out of the shadows. Start to change. Have a conversation. So people are like, oh, so you fault the 10 anglers at Lake Pickwick for protesting Drew Gregory. No, I don't. Not at all. I actually welcome it. So did Drew Gregory. Because what it does is it causes the sport to ask questions, make the rules clearer next year. KBF just did a video this week about changes they're going to do to boundaries in their series. This is what it's about, mates. So just put all the haters where they belong, in their own little camp echo chamber. The people who don't want to advance the sport, the people who don't want to be questioned about things. You know, it's funny when people ask me all the time, I have never gotten anything back from Bassmaster except respectful dialogue. Whether I talk to someone in person or I get a message sent to me about something that I may have said, or clarity, or I see clarity, I send a message. MLF, same way. Local trails, same way. People are just like, hey, look, what do you need? Hey, what do you need clarification on? Right? That's what you get from reputable people that aren't childish and amateurish. Okay? If you're dealing with people that are evasive and whataboutisms and don't want to like clarify, don't even want to follow their own rules that they have, or they take their rules down when someone raises a question because they don't want there to be transparency, you know, what does that say about them? They want to make it about us for asking the question on podcasts, right? Doesn't matter whether it's Kayak Bass Nation, Bass Talk Live, Traveling Circus, Craig Johnson's TikTok, my channel. Doesn't matter who the channel is. All right. They just don't want to, because they're, they don't want any light shined on what they're doing. And that should tell a lot of people. Does that mean that people shouldn't fish? No. I mean, I talked to plenty of people that have provided me information that actually generates and becomes content on my channel, mates. Are inside organization. They're what I call whistleblowers. They're not really whistleblowers, but that's what we would call them if they worked in a business and they were providing information from inside the business with anonymity, or you agree not to release their names. You know what I'm saying? That's what we call them. I mean, so plenty of people, understand these things, even within these different organizations. I mean, the anglers in MLF were complaining about that freaking, multi-catch format. I mean, and eventually MLF changed. KBF changing. Bassmasters will probably change some of the things brought about by this season. Don't we want that in the sport or in the community? Evolution, But payouts, when people talk about payouts, if you want true evolution in payouts, this expectation is that you don't want to have any more increased skin in the game, that sponsors should be picking up the tab. Good luck. Good luck. Anything that's going on with the economy right now and what's going to happen this winter and how this economy is going to end up in the shitter even more than it is now. Okay. You want to talk about Q1 and Q2 of 2023 being puckered up tight for sponsors? Watch. Okay. So we have to have the skin in the game and not complain about KBF going to $50 for the monthly, or KBF going to $150 or $125 or whatever it is for the trail series, dropping their price for the pro series, right? Okay, so it's kind of like, we want to get more people into the pro series. We want to get more people to fish both the trail and the pro, so let's drop the price a little bit going into 2023. We know the economy is going to be tight. Right, there are smart moves being made on the table, and people need to recognize them as smart moves and not automatically jump to, again, tribalism, which is what happens. Brandism and tribalism, right? You see it all the time. Like people will bash kayak manufacturers or boat manufacturers because they run a different brand. People will bash KBF or Bass because they fish Hobie, or people that fish, KBF will bash, some people, like not as much. I really don't see that as much in KBF groups, where they're slamming freaking other organizations. It seems like KBF is pretty much gets bloodied up all the time and always has. It's been my experience. And you can make the argument, well, that's because, Hobie runs a great ship. They do. So, but that doesn't mean they're beyond some criticisms for things, okay, out there. They run a tight ship. There's no denying that. It is a premier event series. We'll see what the schedule's like next year. We'll see what changes Hobie's going to make. They've been very quiet going into the Tournament of Champions, mates. Okay, and that can either be a good thing or a bad thing. Okay, I think it's going to be great. I think their event, but man, I was like, when you run these championships in the fall, this is what happens. KBF, Kentucky Lake, going pre-fishing. Everybody was reporting tough, like it was ridiculous how tough the bite was. Okay. And so you've got to balance that. So what's KBF doing? KBF's going to move their championships to the spring now, away from the fall. That's a change they're making. Some people will like it. Some people will hate it. As far as catching fish goes, it's probably the best thing you can do. Will this be the last year that the Tournament of Champions will be in the fall for Hobie? I think a lot of that will depend on what happens down at Caddo. What happens? Because you never know what the weather's going to be, okay, this time of year. from the Gulf all the way to the Atlantic. You never know. Just like we didn't know about that hurricane that freaking just decimated Florida. Like, boom. You never know. This time of year is wicked in terms of weather. We just had a cold front here that snapped us for freaking like a week in the 30s to low 40s every morning. Like, it was crazy. Now we're back up to 68. Okay? And so that's where we're at. That's my freaking Wednesday hump day rant. Gonna go out and try some, again, new rod, new line, some new baits, just having a little bit of fun out there for a couple hours before I got to grab the girls. We got a lot going on this week. Shout out to everybody. Big thanks for everybody sending their prayers for my father back home. They did move him out of the main hospital into a physical therapy area. I mean, my man is freaking like pushing 95, guys. He's lived a full life. World War II vet. He's lived a full life. But you know, just love the support. Thank you very much, everybody on Facebook did send me a personal message about my pops. Totally appreciate it. I'm gonna get back down again. You know, check on him now that he's gone into a new facility for some physical therapy. Get him get him to be able to use the walker and all that good stuff, man. But I appreciate the love. You guys know I always have your back. If you guys ever need anything, you know how to reach out and find me. And we'll be good to go. I will see you on the other side, mates. Have a great Wednesday.